Hello, Kerdcarans. Call me biased, but it's great to see you. I would say what's up, but in Kerdcaran terms, I'll say what's the what? Or what's the why? And does the what follow from the why? So there we have it. All four of our steps in my opening remarks. Not a great punster am I, but hey, at least I got them in there. So I'm guessing that you have discovered by now, even though we've not been able to meet for some time, that those four simple steps that we practice every week together, in addition to our emotional intelligence work, have really been foundational to how you've been able to communicate and get along and think about things, even in absence of getting together for our time at the dojo. So I hope so. I'd love to hear more about that. So I've been reluctant to try to conduct our dojo on Zoom, just because I think it would miss a lot of the important interactions. But I think it would be great for us to get together and at least do, the first part of our process, which is our EI check-in, and catch up with each other. And, maybe something to think about, a couple of questions we could talk about. One is, exactly how has the technique and techniques been working for you during this time of crisis? Do you find yourself naturally asking why when confronted with assertions of truth these days, without having to be daily reminded, or weekly reminded, at least in the dojo? Is it becoming an instinctive part of the way you operate and think in the world? Would love to hear some of those stories. So that's one question we'll talk about in addition to checking in. I think another fun question would be one that comes from Stoicism, which of course I love to practice. And I'm going to read pull it up here, read a little excerpt from a book that I've read from before by Donald Robertson called How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, about Marcus Aurelius, who was an extraordinary Roman emperor and also an incredible Stoic. And he says that the Stoics like to ask themselves, what virtues has nature given me that might help me deal with the situation better? You might also consider how other people cope, so that you can try to model their attitudes and behavior. What would a role model like Socrates or Diogenes or Zeno do? We can also ask, what would Marcus do if faced with the same situation? In modern therapy, clients model the behavior of others and develop coping plans, which describe how they would deal with the feared situation if it actually happened. Considering what another person would do or what they would advise you to do can help you formulate better coping plans. And that will typically lead you to decatastrophize the situation and downgrade your appraisal of its severity. Sounds like pretty helpful advice at this time, doesn't it? So I think a really fun question would be one you would maybe wrestle with this week yourself, which is, who is your role model, or who is a role model, or who are some role models that, when facing difficult times, when facing catastrophes, you could say to yourself, what would they do? We've all seen the bumper stickers, what would Jesus do? But what and who might your role models be, and what would they do facing something like the coronavirus, or facing any sort of conflict like seems to be going on all over the world, both far and near these days? What would your role models do? So rather than trying to figure out what you need to do, ask yourself what somebody you really admire would do. Chances are the reason you admire them is because they reflect something that's really inside yourself. They mirror something, some greatness within you that you aspire towards. So when you ask what your role models might do, you're really seeking your own inner wisdom anyway. So a fun experiment. So let's pose those two questions next week, in addition to checking in with each other, but to ask, who your role models are. And then I've already forgotten what the first question was, so you can go back and look on the tape. I'm not going to retape this because I've already said too much. So You know, I turned 56 last week, so I've lost even more brain cells since then, I guess. But anyway, we'll have fun talking and pondering, and oh yeah, you know, how the Kerdcera method is working for you. Okay, so that's enough blathering for now. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. I'm going to send you an email, and it'll have a link to the Zoom meeting so that you can all join us then. All right. So hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying happy and staying healthy. Both are intertwined, and I will look forward to us all coming back together in the hopefully not too far future, but also seeing you next week. So take care, my friends.